So the message of the day, it's Christmas, but it's also far more in some regards. Something I've talked about for years and years and years, because I always like the deeper significance to things. So when it came to Christmas, I used to always incorporate not just Christmas Day, but in fact the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas. So it kind of deepens the whole experience, and I'll explain why. But the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas, again, most people don't know about that, but the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas are a way of taking what was once a Christmas day and multiplying it, exponentially multiplying it. But it's such an incredible experience because the 12 days, starting Christmas Day, the 12 days each signifies a sign of the Zodiac. But also, each of those days, as you and I go through those days, is setting the tone for one of the 12 months in the coming year. So, it's kind of interesting. It's like a test, an initiation, but it's really, really beautiful, really powerful. There's folks trying to find seats, so I have to interrupt myself. There's some seats, like a couple in the middle right there, if you guys, ushers, need to know, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I've shared this through the fall, and I'll be brief with it and say it yet again. It's not an accident that the holidays are set up the way they're set up. It's not an accident that Christmas doesn't get to come until after you have buried your dead in Halloween, till you have gotten your skeletons out of the closet and revealed all your stuff. It's great. Halloween, let it out. Instead of hiding our skeletons, let them out. And what ghosts are still haunting you? Halloween, great, bring them out. Then once you bring out your stuff and heal, you get to give thanks. Thanksgiving. Once you've given thanks, nice, you've set the tone, you've made the way clear. The Christ to be born, Christmas, perfect. Because now with Christmas, you're going to have the birthing of the Christ self to a whole new level so that you can have a great new year, which means the next year of my life is going to be better than the last year of my life. It's all beautifully set up. I really believe, it's just really, really set up beautifully. But after Christmas, 12 days and nights, something else is happening that we'll get back to in a sec. Then it ends with Epiphany. Epiphany was honored more by some traditions or religions than others, but Epiphany is called an octave holiday. An octave holiday is a holiday that's supposed to take all the previous energy built up and take it to another level, to another octave. And people really don't even seem to utilize or discuss much about octave holidays anymore. Epiphany is one of those. So man, we are in the midst of major changes, not to mention all the planetary things going on Christmas Day tomorrow. All kinds of really cool things are happening there. If I think of it, I'll come back to that and cover that a little bit. But we're in, this isn't just a Christmas service. We're in the midst of some really great times of the year. The particular planetary alignments on Christmas Day are also going to just take it to another level. But what you and I decide to do with our lives next year is not only determined by every other choice we've made in our lives, past and present, but also how you conduct yourself through particularly the holidays, because it's all symbolic ceremony, ritual, but then even more so during the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas. Is that all making sense so far? All right. Now, when we look at Christmas itself, again, to me, it's my favorite holiday, but it's, what's all the symbolism about? Well, the Christmas tree, first of all, you are the tree. You're the Kabbalistic tree that has life even in the darkest times. So we are that tree. The presents that we put below the tree symbolize not gifts, presents, but God's presence. You see, spelled differently. So what we're really supposed to be marveling at is God at the foundation of your being? Not how many gifts do I have under the tree? It's how many of God's gifts do I have as a foundation to my thinking? Beautiful. And believe it or not, even things like all the sparkly lights. If that tree is me, that's my crown. And if the lights are on a tree, what are those symbolizing? It's me. It's all my electrical systems. So it's kind of a cool symbol to say, even during dark times, I am alive. I'm lit up. My crown is awakened. Presence under me. I mean, really, it makes great sense. That's not taught in every household. You know, hey kids. You know, it's about piles of boxes. But don't forget this. Try and bring this in, even if it's just in your own prayers. Try and bring this in somehow to your studies, to your processes during Christmas. But to be able to say, you know, what else is there that's going on here? Let me think about this. You wake up Christmas morning, even if you live alone. What is this all really meaning? And what would I like it to mean? Okay, I want to be that thing, that tree. I would like to be alive. I would like to bring light and life, the green, light and life, to people, even in dark times. I want to remind myself, I'm going to go into this year not riding my bike that I got this year and playing with the toys that I got this year. That's fine. I want to bring the symbolism into my life this year. I want to be a different kind of person. How can I bring light? How can I bring life? How can I be like a Christmas tree even in people's darkest times? You know, that may sound like a big load to carry, but you're going to be doing it anyway. At some point, we only get to choose when. So we can say, no, I'll do the Christmas tree in about 5 years. You know, you're allowed to stall, but you're also allowed to say, you know, this sounds kind of cool. I'd like to do this. Not to mention that when you bring that to people, it changes because the good karma comes back to you anyway. So it's for your good as well. So we're going to go into the 12. The next piece, the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas, because that's what a lot of people are here for and wanting to watch. We have people watching online that are, you know, come on, let me see it. So the 12 holy days and nights, in a nutshell, we have our calendar, our solar calendar, 365 days. The lunar calendar, however, expires 12 days before the solar calendar does. So it just sits there. Well, what are we doing? You know, the lunar calendar's over. Ancient cultures often went by a lunar calendar. It wasn't until, you know, the Ptolemaic calendar from Egypt, it was turned into a solar calendar just after the time of Alexander the Great. So we have this lag, this 12 days, and the mystics figured out there's something unique here, and here's what they came up with. The moon sort of acts as a buffer from solar rays. Just like, for example, it's easier to look at the sunlight on the moon than it is the sun. So the moon represents a buffer, and it's kind of cool because the moon acts, they call it the man on the moon. Really, it's the mother, because she's a symbol of the feminine. And she helps, like the mother would, buffer that raw solar energy. She buffers that, lets everything come to us a little with a little buffer, a little ease. But her days expire 12 days before the solar calendar ends. So what happens? The solar energies now hit us more directly. The solar rays, stars, planets, they have what's called rays. That's why when you do astrology, it's really about the angle of the rays and the you know, of different planets and stars, how they're hitting the planet and your being wherever you were born at a given time. So the solar calendar is, the solar energies are beaming directly to you. And the moon backs off, so these are coming direct to you. However, those solar rays go through each of the planetary, the Zodiac planets, you know, and signs, so that you get a little Aries, a little Capricorn, or whatever it happens to be. So these solar rays are coming directly, and here's one more cool thing about it. We're getting these direct energies, no longer buffered, but it's as though those energies come to you, one for each sign of the Zodiac, but they come to you saying, would you like to place an order? So whatever you do on day 1 is going to be January. Whatever you do on day 2 of these 12 days is going to affect February, and all on and on and on through December. That's what the mystics figured out. So they made it a practice to say, I'm going to set really powerful holy intention. I'm going to watch what's going on. And some people say, well, so you really try to behave so that, you get through. But what's funny is something's going to slip through anyway. There's going to be an oops. As soon as you go to Sedona's roundabout, you're going to, something's going to go, right there then. Whatever patience you were practicing, it's gone. And that's okay. It's kind of like you go, I made it through 11 and a half days and slipped. It's okay. Because it's stuff that we needed to work on. And it's showing in one little way on that one day. But what I would do if I were you is if I slipped or found something going on less than one day, it's going to resurface in that month. So let me start working on it now and clear that energy. All right? Some of you may have heard of these things, some probably not, but that's how this works, the 12 holy days and nights of Christmas. So now we're going to look at each of these days, and some people are going to be taking notes and some people not. It doesn't matter. You can watch the video later, and you might just try to remember it as best you can. So we're asking that these energies, these rays, we're asking that we sort of get to dance with them, and we're getting to place an order. If you want to work on prosperity, there's one day that might be more auspicious for that than another day. If you want to work on inner healing, other days might be more auspicious. So I'm going to just kind of breeze through the 12 holy days and nights. I'll give you an idea of how this works in terms of the signs of the zodiac in case you're interested. Now, what sign would start the 12 days and nights? We would maybe think Aries because it's the first sign of the zodiac. In fact, we start with Virgo. The reason being is that, first of all, is that on Christmas Day, you have the virgin birth. Traditionally, it's called. So Virgo starts there, and it's amazing how this works because by the time you get to the last day of the year, it happens to be the last sign of the zodiac. When you go to the first day of the year, January 1st, it happens to be the first day, the first sign of the zodiac. So it's really, really remarkable how this lays out. There's probably only a couple of teachers that talk about this or teach this, and I think there's differing, besides myself. I know one tries to just go with Aries because that's the first sign. Makes total logical sense. It just doesn't work out as well. So you'll check this out as I go. So day one, think about this because it's tomorrow. This is the first holy day and night, and it's obviously December 25th, but it's the day of Virgo. The Virgin constellation, this night is the first night in our series of 12. And although Virgo is not actually the first sign of the zodiac, it fits perfectly with Christmas, as I mentioned. So tomorrow day and night, practice accepting your original innocence, the virgin within. Practice accepting your own innocence, rather than all the opinions and guilts and shames that we've picked up over our lifetime, including, stuff like self-worth. But also to birth the inner goddess, birthing, because that's the Mary within us, to birth the inner goddess and God, we have to not lose our sense of humility. Even though this first day of the year, I'm ready, man. Starting tomorrow, it's not just Jesus' birth. I'm ready to birth and have birth for me the Christ. So here we go. Wow, this is amazing. I get to be the Christ. Well, don't forget humility. Oh, darn. I was thinking I was going to call home and tell him. Guess what? The Christ, I'm it. So also because it's the Virgo day, keep in mind, respect only the divine is perfect. So watch yourselves on this first day of the 12. Watch yourselves not to overly try to make perfection, Virgoic, kind of energy. Careful. Remember, only spirit is perfect. God, divine, is perfect. So beware and be careful the trying to, emphasize or push and nitpick for perfection in this world. The second holy day and night, Libra. Now, this is also known, by the way, traditionally as St. Stephen's Day. And St. Stephen was a martyr who showed a lot of courage. So what we're reminded to do on the second day and night of the holy nights of Christmas, remember courage. This may sound to some people, as you're sitting here, you might not have heard this before, and you go, it seems arbitrary, but wait and watch. The second day, all of us are going to be called to deal with this. Improving our ability to discern Despite voices that tell us no, meaning the martyr. He just said, you know what, I know what's right. And I'm going to stand by what feels right. Even at the risk of being stoned alive. And he was. So remember, have tenacity. Stick to your guns. The Libran, you can learn, all of us as Librans within us, stay true. Don't vacillate. I'm a Libran. Stop and make a decision and have some tenacity with that decision. Especially if you know that decision nurtures your highest good. All right, next, Scorpio. The higher aspect of the signs commonly referred to as an eagle or a phoenix, most of you know. This day is also known as the day of St. John. St. John the Beloved, the Apostle. He's also the author of the Gospel of St. John and the Book of Revelation. Scorpio can be seen typically as the deepest of all. They call it the mystery sign, but it's the deepest, partly because of its ability to soar high, as the eagle or the phoenix, to soar high and get kind of a spiritual perspective of things. So very deep mystical sign. But on the Scorpio day night, which is just a few days away, first of all, the obvious, watch human urges, watch mood swings. All of us, not Scorpios, all of us on the day of Scorpio. Also, however, do some soul searching. Find and release any unhealed wounds and grievances. This is everybody. Take advantage of that day because the solar rays from Scorpio are coming directly to you saying, I'm here to help you do 10 times what you would usually be able to do on this topic. I can ramp it up if you'll let me. I'm going to hit you directly and help you out here. So keep that in mind. The bottom line is do the soul searching. Get rid of the grievances because you'll realize, you know what? I can't rise to the highest while carrying resentments. It weights me down, and that'll be the main message of that day. Next, we're going to go Sagittarius. And by the way, on Scorpio, Moses putting the serpent up on the stick, Buddha is often shown as sitting on the top of, or many Hindu symbols, with the serpent below the feet in various forms and so on. That all has to do with sublimating, kind of the lower nature. So that's something else that we're still doing with the Scorpio energy. Now, Sagittarius, gotta love it. This is the day when Herod is supposed to have murdered all the children looking for Jesus. So one of the main lessons that has to do with Sag in this regard, the Sagittarian day and night, remind ourselves there are no such things as losses. There seems to be, yes, we understand the tragedies and all that. But to remember, the Sagittarian is always shooting higher, right? Aim high. Don't let the stuff of that day or that month or this world get you down. Focus your arrow on the grand plan instead of, guess what just happened to me? A bill I can't pay. Well, yeah. And then also Herod wiped out all the children. Still, the Christ gets born and lives. So allow that to happen within you and not be taken adrift into issues of this world. I know they can seem intense, but our job in this day, this sign, rise above. Even be aware of negative thoughts that can shoot down your aspirations. What good does it do to say, I have some great ideas for next year, and then letting doubts shoot them down before they even have a chance to get anywhere? So let these things launch. Capricorn. Some ancients referred to Capricorn as the gates of the gods, and it was believed that if you were evolved enough, they used to think of the Zodiac as almost like a mythology walkthrough. So the ancients used to watch for the symbolism, especially if they were mystics. They watched for these kinds of things. So they said Capricorn astrologically is like a gateway of the gods. So that if you evolved enough and got through your stuff, you sort of go through this gateway and rise into God, goddess, nature. So to get there, however, we have to remember this. And this is also getting us towards the end of the calendar year. The Capricorn day-night, cleanse yourself and your addictions. That's the key. For the Capricorn day and night, please practice. It's not the only sign that does this, but one of the key ones. On that day, please consider looking at or starting to join a 12-step group or whatever and starting to work on your any addictions, including just any stuff of the lower nature on as many levels as possible. In so doing, we then reach with that gate of the gods, Capricorn, we reach that higher nature. Remember to call upon divine power, though, to overcome personal flaws, including those addictions. The Capricorn has to remember. Sometimes a Capricorn can be a little bit fault-finding, so they've got to learn to call on God as their source. Now we get to Aquarius. We're roughly halfway through. The sign Aquarius is connected to King David. They say King David was as great a king humanly as Jesus was spiritually. He was considered just loved by God and all these great testimonials about him. He represents the Aquarian man-woman. On the Aquarian day night, we've got some responsibilities. First, discover how you can become more of a balanced, that's the key, the balanced God-goddess. A balanced male-female, not male or female. How can I become more balanced? That's part of the keynote of that day. That's kind of like saying, like the divine feminine, the divine masculine blended in within me. Move beyond thinking that you know everything. Aquarians are famous for, I know. And you have to move beyond believing you know everything. One way to do that, think as a we. Rather than I know or I don't know, think as a we. And make choices that consider the needs of everybody involved. And that moves you a little out of that potential stagnation. All of us, the Aquarian in all of us, from the I know to we. We need, we understand, we whatever. Pisces. Now, Pisces is the symbol of two fish. If you're not familiar with what that means is, one is swimming upwards towards spirituality and one is descending downwards. So it's kind of like, which one are you going to be? Which one are you going to choose? That's part of what Pisces is about. So, Pisces is an interesting sign because in a sense you have to learn to go with the flow. There's a certain humility learned through the Piscean energy, but go with the flow. But there's also, in Pisces, there's said to be a little bit of like a clumsy energy. A clumsy meaning I'm trying on some new things. So watch for if you're feeling insecure about your new devotions, your new commitments to the next year. What can you do differently and how can you hang in there and accept that you're going to trip once in a while as you learn to walk. Make the choice to swim in the right direction. There is only one direction. Spirituality comes first. Beware of the temptation, all of us in the Piscean day, to feel like a victim. And one more piece is to win the battle that you might be feeling that day or in your life in general. Win the battle between old school ways of doing things and new school ways of doing things. Because the Piscean is needing to learn to say, you know what, the old traditions and whatever it happens to be, it's not working, and say goodbye to it. All right, the last few. Aries. Now, Aries literally falls on New Year's Day, therefore it's a day of new beginnings. Obviously, people typically know what Aries is about, so what would we need to do to deal with the Aries Day? The obvious, it's calling to new beginnings. That's pretty obvious. New beginnings, the first day of the year, literally it'll be January 1st, but also it's all about new beginnings. So the problem is they say the Aries will go horns first, and just like they did. Horns first, just kind of charging in. Don't be charging into anything. Learn to be inspired. You and I, on Aries Day, let God be our guide, not our head. Don't jump in head first. Let God be your guide. And that includes, willpower. Let God's will be done, not my will, which is more the Aries energy. Also, Aries got that fire to it and Mars energy to it. But allow the fire to be used to clear your path. Allow, like almost like when the briars and all the stickers and all the stuff in life, put them in a pile and burn them. That's where Aries will come in handy. Use your fire and say, dang it, no more. I'm done with this thing. I'm done with that particular thing. Let Aries inspire you. Let Mars lead the way, inspired by God, and then let Aries lead the way, Mars lead the way. It's a great way to go. Like you wouldn't want like Libra to lead the way. Well, I don't know. Another, watch for how your defenses become offensive. Because even though they talk about that fiery energy of Mars and of Aries, what happens is we start to get defensive because we feel attacked. So then we turn and charge as a reaction. Be careful. If you're being defensive, maybe you have things to heal. Then you wouldn't be overly offensive and have issues with people along those lines. So on that day, watch particularly for defensiveness. Taurus. All right. Now, these next three that I'm reading are basically, they symbolize the three traditional wise men. So the next three signs, the next 3 days, that's where we're coming from. The first one, Taurus, as a sign, represents Melchior, the one of the three wise men. He brings gold. Now, when he brings gold to the birth of Jesus, his bringing the gold symbolizes, I honor this person as a king. How does that relate to you and I on this day, on this Taurian day, when we get to that in the 12 days and nights? So, first of all, you and I have to learn to be abundant. Taurus can be materialistic, so let's not be too materialistic, but learn to manifest gold out of thin air. Learn to be prosperous. Learn your deservability. That's the good Taurian stuff. I mean, these guys bring gold. He's just been born. He's already rich. Just doesn't get attached to it. So it's okay, man. Bring in the gold. Release attachments to these material things, but allow yourselves to create gold out of thin air. Trust God is your source of the gold, of your income, of your prosperity, all material things. Practice going with the flow, of course, and going with the flow of change. Taurus can be very stuck and stubborn, but once motivated, it can get moving. And tame the bull, basically, in more ways than one. Tame the bull, harness all that energy. It's interesting because Taurus and Scorpio are, opposite signs. And they both are known for having a ton of energy. But both of them have to do with harnessing that energy properly. Then we go into Gemini, the second of the three wise men. That's Caspar, is one of the three wise men. He brought frankincense to Jesus, or to the birth, honoring him as a priest. So gold was honoring him as a king. Now frankincense brought to honor him as a king or priest. So this symbolizes, though, frankincense duality. So this kind of gets interesting because the resin, which is considered quite valuable, it rises to the heaven in smoke. And so the ancients used to think of resin as being like, it transforms. It's this valuable essence. We burn it and it represents the priest, the spiritual nature. You burn it and it becomes ever more subtle as it rises, as any resin would. But it was unique because of its healing properties and so on. So the Gemini day-night, healing and releasing all forms of duality. They call it the warring twins, Gemini. So healing and releasing all forms of duality and inner warring between your head and heart, but also your masculine and feminine. If you're thinking about this and you look at what I'm describing between these 12 days and nights, it's a very thorough soul searching and healing that we're doing. It's almost like it's its own program. Practice making healthier decisions and commitments, and be more decisive and watch for moments where doubt causes you to overthink. They talk about, Gemini ruled by Mercury, so it's a real thinking sign. But it only thinks because it allowed itself to doubt in the first place. So please, don't just watch for thinking, watch for doubts that initiate the overthinking. And then, of course, Cancer. The last of the three wise men, Balthazar, who brought myrrh. Now this one's kind of interesting because myrrh is an oil. It's valuable, but it's also bitter. Now that symbolized the value that Magdalene, she's the one that came and washed his feet with myrrh and all. So it was acknowledging you're a valuable soul. Here's myrrh. But without knowing it, whether it was conscious or not conscious, by anointing in myrrh, it also meant, because it's bitter, the bitter ending. So it was said in the Bible, she was like anointing him for his death. He wasn't dead yet, but she somehow knew that This life you have, Jesus, is bittersweet. You are valuable. Here's valuable resins taken in this beautiful alabaster jar, yet the resin was acknowledging, and I know what's going to happen to you. Now, how does that play out in our lives? Well, first of all, get your priorities straight, because the Cancerian energy is often everything's about family. Ask the average person about the sign of Cancer. Oh, they're all about family. No. You have to get your priorities straight. Your spiritual family. It was always supposed to be your spiritual family first. But in the mundane crabbiness of people, they projected it into human relations. Spiritual family first. That's your priority. Also, Cancerians, and on Cancerian Day, we have to face the bitter truth that some people will not appreciate your commitment to your spiritual path. So the Cancerian Day isn't just and get together with family, even if they don't like you. The Cancerian Day is get your priorities straight, and also recognize this is Jesus saying, those who do the will of God are my family. It changes everything. Then he also hits them with flesh is flesh, spirit is spirit. Like, he doesn't sound like he's a real advocate of gratuitous family, because he's not. Get your priorities straight. Recognize the importance of shifting from the human mother, you yourself being the human mother, even men, shift from being the human mother to being the mother of all. You want to understand Cancerian energy to another level? Don't just be a human mom or dad. Start recognizing I have a role here to take care of God's family, our spiritual family first. I'll be appropriate, loving, whatever I can do to human family, human people, but I have a higher order here. Keep that in mind. And then Leo. This is the day known traditionally as Simeon's Day. He's the man who when Jesus was brought to the temple, he cried out, "All is fulfilled. Now I behold the one who is the bearer of the sun." This day symbolizes the constellation of Leo. This guy saw Jesus' real role, and he cries out and gives honor and praise. Well, in the Leo day and night, recognize the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Leo can obviously sometimes want to be out. So the last shall be first. Humility again. We're only as great, because the Leo is often the sign of the king. And we're only great as kings, queens, gods, goddesses, only can lead as kings and queens as much as we learn to follow. So humility for Leo and ourselves. We can only lead or reign as well as we're willing to follow, but also try standing straight instead of standing out. All of us on that day, just try standing straight, meaning straight-laced, straight, clear, clean. You see, straight deals. Be square in your deals. Be honest. Stand straight, not stand out. Relax. Instead of, look at me. Relax. The last shall be first, the first shall be last. So, if we want to align with these 12 holy days and nights, you might have your own ideas on how to best align with this. In our Friends of Michael Mirdad Facebook group, we're going to have everybody sharing feedback about how each day is going. If you want to get into that group, fine. Get into the group. Then you can join us in that kind of exchange that we're going to have. But if you want to participate in this to another level, I would say get a journal of some kind and kind of make some notes for the first 12 days. Then here's how I would do it. If you have a journal for the year, I would do the first 12 days and nights, make notes, oops, here and there, and this and that. Then I would transfer that to the bottom of each of my monthly calendars, a footnote to myself. Here's what I did well, here's where I slipped, so it'll remind me through that month to mind myself, watch myself. Because if you mess up and you make a mistake in any one of the 12 days, it's not fated to ruin a month. It's only to remind you where you must have had a weakness, and that weakness can multiply during that month. So again, it also is how much intention you bring into this. People don't know anything about this, and they live their days, they have good days, bad days, and they don't know anything about it, and they think they don't need to. Like anything, the more you put consciousness and intention into this, the more of a difference it'll make. Okay? Now, setting that aside, how much of a change am I willing to make in my life? Did I hear this talk and then I'm done? Did I hear neat things about a Christmas tree and I'm done? Think about the ancients understood things. We do things with a left brain, very methodical, very intellectual, and so on. In the old days, even when they told stories, that's how they taught. Even to teach math, anything, they taught with concepts, because people learn so much more through concepts. And they would use planets and mythologies and stories of heroes because they're concepts that each of us can get our own gems from. Instead of, no, there are no gems. 1 + 1 is 2, that's it. Yeah, but what if you multiply? 1 + 1, that's it. There's no other out of the box anymore. And so we lose this concept of magical living. So we learn, let that go. I'm used to living my life as a thinker. And it's time to think with my heart and feel with my mind. It's time to learn to even be able to feel from both, think from both. I'm ready to be balanced. I'm ready to understand and know inspirations that come to me and follow those inspirations without shooting them down with doubt. I want to live a different life. So whether you call it a Christ life or whatever you want to call it, at the very least, call it mastery. If you want to take it up a notch from mastery, call it the life of a god-goddess. And that one is too much for some people. I mean, some people love the idea. Great. Permission to call myself a goddess. I'd like that in high school. I'm a god, and I want straight A's now, thank you. And just command what you want in your life. The world doesn't really do well with this. So people are a bit apprehensive of using terms like gods and goddesses, but Jesus also said, when they're picking at him, how dare you make such great claims about yourself? How dare you say people can heal with at a snap of a finger? How dare you? And he's like, what's wrong with you people? Don't you read your own material? He says to them, your own material books, sacred books tell you are gods and goddesses. So he says it. It's not me. He says this. The ancients already knew it. So if it's known by people that had respectable positions to us, why not follow it? So what if you are a god goddess? Then start wrapping your mind around that concept. It's not an arrogance. It's actually, and remember this, it's arrogant to think you're not. If God created you in its image, who are you to say you're not in its image? That makes no sense. I am as God created me. So now, a god goddess of what? And this is the coolest part, you get to decide. It's not like someone should tell you, hi, what's your name? Jim. Hi, Jim, nice to meet you. You are now the god of war. Start, go. Hi, what's your name? Sally. Sally, you're the goddess of nature. So get to work. You get to decide. And you all know, because it's synonymous with your soul's purpose. You're all gods, goddesses. Under the tree, there's a gift. Open it. It's not a Tonka toy. It's not a slinky. It's you are a god and goddess. You open the box, there's a mirror, and it's you. And a sign. Welcome. Hello, god, goddess. And imagine you take it from there. What are you the god, goddess of? Anything that is a gift, you could start there. I always love nature. Then why not think of yourself as the god or goddess of nature? I love beautification. Then let's call you the god or goddess of that. I love landscaping. I love whatever it is. I love children. Then be a goddess of children. Old days, they used to have these people. And nowadays, archaeologists and scientists of various sorts, they say that was all just, symbolic. There were people that lived up to it. And I'm saying to you, we're going to get back there. I'm telling you, it's inevitable. We can't keep digressing. You got to eventually progress upwards. We all call it evolution. It's not just evolution of biology and this thing you call a body or nature itself. We're evolving spiritually, even if we don't think it or even if we don't want to. We're evolving. If we're evolving, it means you're going to go from human to God goddess. In between those two, there's even one called mastery. How are you going to become a God goddess if you can't even own that you are good at anything? So you start realizing, I'm not just a human, I'm a really good human. I know how to be here. I know how to be kind. And you come out a bit more, your goodness. That thing there, that mastery part of you, is what's going to then transfer into God Goddess. And eventually into complete oneness with God. Undefined, in a sense, by God Goddess anymore, but just oneness with bliss and all. So if you're the God Goddess, please practice owning something and be happy about it. I don't think you can get away with going to family reunions and spouting it. I don't think that's going to work out real well. But I do believe you can know it. You can know it. You can own it. And what's nice is, again, it's not told to you by somebody else. I can and other people can help you figure out what it is. But I'm telling you, once you start figuring it out, you're going to go, oh my God, it was always there. It was obvious. So whether it's the god of integrity, because in Greek mythology and Norse mythology, they had gods and goddesses, in a sense, in Mayan mythology, of just about anything. That's not because of how watered down it was. It's because it gives us the diversity. I am the god or goddess of astronomy or astrology. I'm the goddess of healing. It may sound strange, but that's what it's about. In Greek mythology and in Hebrew studies, you have Samson. Samson went through tests and initiations. Samson is the Hebrew name for Hercules in Greek mythology. They're the same person. But Hercules went through 12 labors, 12 tests. And when he's done, he becomes a god. He's allowed to step through that Capricorn kind of gateway to the gods, goddesses, and he becomes a god. Because he's done so well with his owning his god status. How? Because he accepted mastery and went after his tests and initiations. Remember, Hercules did accomplish this. Heracles or Hercules, he accomplished this. They were called insurmountable obstacles, and he beat them all. What does that mean when you have annoyances? Oh, I can never get through my annoyances. Gods and goddesses go through insurmountable obstacles. I have all that I need to make it through this. Not one, but 12, an array of 12 major tests you're going to go through. They're all symbolizing the signs of the Zodiac, and the 12 days and nights of Christmas are going to give you an opportunity to go through all 12. Or you'll conveniently forget this entire conversation. I don't know anything. Man, I'm just a human. I have to still choose what kind of drink I want at Starbucks. I can't handle life. If that's the best you can do. But some of us, man, you learn. You go, this is cool. You step up and you learn, I can pray. I didn't really have confidence. I can bring healing to people through prayer. Or I've become more mechanically inclined. Or I'm only a single mom, yet I don't feel any deficit. I feel complete, like I'm dad and mom, and I feel complete. You start feeling that kind of like great sensation, completeness, wholeness. That's mastery. You attain that enough, and then on you go into really being the god and goddess you've been all along. So we lost sight of it once upon a time, but we're gaining it back. We get to choose when. I recommend that you consider these 12 steps, these 12 stages that we're going to be going through soon, as sort of a test or initiation. Okay? Thanks. We're now going to move into, in a moment, our candle lighting part of the service. And we're going to actually share in a song or two as well. Bring down the screen and we'll put some lyrics up. Chaplains, if you could get prepared with the candles and the candle lighting. We'll actually do, you can bring that down, and we'll do that in a moment. We're going to do the candle lighting first. So we'll use some great symbolism to this. If you don't have a candle, please wave a hand. At home, if you don't have one, please feel free. Grab one, and you don't have to have one. But grab one if you have one, and you can light that. Down the aisles, light the people on the end only. The people on the end only, and then the folks on the end, light the candle for the person next to you, please, and pass it on down. All right, pass the favor down. Lighting the candles will only take a moment. Do your best to keep your candle vertical so you're not dripping wax. You can learn a lot by people to see, when you look and see how easy it is for them to say, "Can you give me a light?" Good. Pass the lighting down. Yeah, keep on moving that way. Go ahead, please. Good, good. About halfway through. Silent night. It's okay, thanks. While they're lighting the last few candles, let's share one song together. He'll put the lyrics up, you probably know it. And the folks watching online, you can join us as well, obviously. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, crown young virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace, sleep in heavenly peace. Silent night, holy night, shepherds quake at the sight, glory stream from heaven afar, heavenly hosts sing hallelujah, Christ the Savior is born, Christ the Savior is born. Now please close your eyes. Close your eyes. Holy night, Son of God, close your eyes, radiant beams of thy holy face, with the dawn of redeeming grace. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Jesus, Lord, at thy birth. Take a centering breath. Open your eyes only for a moment and look at the candle, please. The candle symbolizing what? God's light and the light that I am. Perfect light. Perfect as it is. Light that can warm, light that can illuminate. Often we use light to burn. No more. This light is for warmth and illumination. God is, I am, and we are this light. Close your eyes and remember the light. Hold that light in your mind and see it in your third eye. Inside your mind, inside your head. Is this just ceremony without meaning? Is it ritual without meaning? Is it just a candle? Or does it symbolize something very real and very powerful? I am as God created me. I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. It's what God created me to be. And wherever I go, I will bring this light. I will do the best I can. If I slip, I will forgive myself. If I forget, I will forgive. But I really do believe I can bring magic and miracles to the world. See that light. The light that was outside is now within. The light that I thought I gained from other people or from things outside myself is now within. Many times Jesus said, I am. And I get it now. I am. One more time, look at your light. Blow out the light. Keep it vertical so it cools. Blow out your light when you're ready. And close your eyes again and still continue seeing it inside. Whether the light is outside or not, whether I have funds or not, whether I have friends or not, nothing extinguishes this light within me. It can only extinguish on the outside. But now I've let it ignite something on the inside. Keep picturing that light. Beautiful, bright, golden white light flickering in there in my mind. So perfect in temperature, it warms. It calls things to it. And imagine that it's calling the Kundalini energy at the base of the spine, gently, guided by the Holy Spirit or Divine Mother, and let it start moving upwards gently through one center at a time, root chakra, navel chakra, upwards. But see the light calling it. The light of God is calling like the flautist with the snake coming out of the basket. That light up above is the light of God. Its movement, its warmth is actually a song. And it's calling that energy upwards. Gently, only gently. Lovingly, only lovingly. Thoroughly, beautifully. And it rises. Through the chest, the heart, the throat, up to the crown and third eye. And imagine that this beautiful fusion of energy from the base has come up, is now dancing with that flame. Just imagine. The Father and Mother are dancing in my mind. The masculine, feminine energies are dancing in my mind. My crown celebrates the dance and begins to open gently. Activating the cranial nerves in my head that control my senses, 5 senses. Activates a web throughout my skull and cranium. Opens the third eye. Everything starts to gently activate. Birthing the Christ today means the light of the world is here. Peace, peace, and be still. Peace and goodwill to man comes today because Christ is born on earth, which means within myself. And hear the voice of that fusion in the mind. Hear it speaking to your body saying, peace, be still and know that I am God. It speaks to your problems, your finances, your romances, your beauty, your creativity, everything equally. All of you, peace, be still and know the I am presence of God. Feel everything awake, everything open. Chakras, trust, love, everything expanding. Even prosperity consciousness, everything in my life opening and expanding. Oh my God, I feel so alive. Feel expansive, alive. And also see and feel your throat, all just like the others, your throat opening, throat center, the chakra. I can confidently speak now because I'll do my best to speak with love, respect, and tactfulness. I'll speak the Word of God, which is all about love. Take a deep breath in and let the throat sound with a humming together. In. Breathe when you need to and keep going for about a minute. And when you're doing this, try to feel the vibration going to the back of the throat, up to the head, down to the feet. Keep going and try to imagine the way bees are sounding together, vibrating together. They're a colony. They're all in this together. And there's people watching from all around the world online. They're doing this with us as best they can. Half a minute more. One more breath in, everyone. Mouths open and more sound. Keep going. Listen to that. Hear that and feel that. Continue hearing and feeling for a moment. Something very magical if you feel it. Tune into it. Something very magical happening. We don't just sing Holy Night. We're evoking that. We're calling that forward. And even if it sounds sacrilegious, it's true that our awakening, any one of us, is as holy and sacred as even the birth of Jesus himself. The birthing of the Christ in any of God's children is what makes God's heart sing and swim the most. We're alive, we're choosing to feel good in this.